Okay, let's talk about crazy ear infection terminology. Let's start with otitis. Otitis simply means inflammation of the ear, yet people use it to mean inflammation of the middle ear, or more often, it'll be the short form for an infection of the middle ear, as in, I just saw a kid with otitis. But there is no such diagnosis as otitis. So next, you could add the word media, which is Latin for middle, to the word otitis to get otitis media. Well, that at least distinguishes it from otitis externa, which is an inflammation of the external ear canal. But otitis media is still not a diagnosis. You get a diagnosis only if you add a third word. For instance, acute otitis media, which is the bacterial infection of the closed middle ear chamber. So what does acute mean? It simply refers to the time course. It means rapid onset. So why did acute otitis media, which literally means rapid onset inflammation of the middle ear, become the diagnostic term of choice? And why not just use otitis media? Well, the reason is because otitis media gets combined with another word to form another diagnosis. It's called otitis media with effusion, or OME. It literally means inflammation of the middle ear with accumulation of fluid. And this diagnosis doesn't even have inflammation. So now we have two diagnoses that share the same two words. We have acute otitis media, or AOM, which literally means rapid onset of inflammation of the middle ear, but officially refers to the bacterial infection of a middle ear. And we have OME, or otitis media with effusion, which literally means inflammation of the middle ear with accumulation of fluid, but officially refers to simply the accumulation of fluid in the middle ear without inflammation. Now that should be bad enough, but unfortunately we're not finished. Otitis media with effusion, or OME, is also known as serous otitis media, the serous referring to the type of fluid that accumulates in the middle ear. So OME is the same diagnosis as SOM. And that should be enough, but it's not. We have another term, MEE, or middle ear effusion, which refers to the exact same thing, accumulation of fluid in the middle ear, except that MEE is not usually used as a diagnosis, but simply as a sign. Oh, and we're still not done. Acute otitis media also has a synonym. It's suppurative otitis media. But you better not shorten that to SOM, or you'll get confused with serous otitis media. Oh, and while we're at it, why don't we add another one? This one's non-suppurative otitis media, also known as otitis media with effusion, or serous otitis media, or middle ear effusion. So how should you handle all of this? Well, if it was up to me, I'd get rid of all of those terms and just stick with middle ear infection or middle ear fluid. But since that's unlikely to happen, here's what I suggest. I think we should go with acute otitis media for the bacterial infection of the middle ear cavity, because it makes the most sense. The infection is usually acute in its time course. It is an inflammation, so the otitis makes sense, and it's in the middle ear, so the media makes sense. And for the accumulation of fluid, I'd go with middle ear effusion, because once again, it's the one that makes the most sense. It's probably good to be aware of the other terms, but I would try not to use them, because they're just too confusing.